The FIA has had a contentious relationship with every Formula One team and fan these past few years. Need I remind you of the Japanese Grand Prix a few months earlier? And now it seems as though things are about to get worse, as the FIA is now clamping down on drivers' rights to free speech and is on the brink of letting the widely beloved Michael Andretti and Cadillac into the sport. Are we witnessing a relationship crumble right before our very eyes? Well, let me give you the details before you make your conclusions. As mentioned in the intro, the FIA will be clamping down on drivers who decide to use their platform to spread awareness and express their stances on political and social matters. As of late, several drivers, including Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, have leveraged their race weekend platforms to raise awareness about significant social concerns, such as Black Lives Matter and environmentalism. In 2020, Formula One launched its own initiative, We Race as One, which was backed by the drivers. The FIA's decision to formalize a pre-existing process was met with criticism, as it was likened to FIFA's similar crackdown prior to the World Cup in Qatar, despite suggestions that it was just a formalization of the current process. Williams driver Alex Albon would recently express the concerns of his fellow drivers and say that they all wish to have some clarity about the new ruling after the initial release was confusing to some. Another thing that is confusing and deeply troubling is the fact that you still aren't subscribing to the channel. Before I continue on, consider changing that. Now, back to what Alex Albon had to say about the FIA. We were very much for We Race as One and all these kind of situations, and it seems like the FIA are trying to go away from that, Albon said when asked by motorsport.com about the clampdown at the launch of Williams' 2023 F1 car on Monday. So we need to see. It's clear we need to be open in dialogue about what they're trying to do. Of course, we need to be able to speak freely to some extent. I'm sure we're going to get clarity later on what they're really trying to say. Last month, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem defended the decision by stating that the governing body's championships should not serve as a platform for personal agendas, and denied that the FIA was silencing any drivers. Albon would also respond to this and say that most of their fans look to them to use their platforms for the greater good, seeing that they have an impact on their fans and the media. I do feel like it is a responsibility for drivers to make people aware of these kinds of situations, said Albon. It is a beast. It is hard too, as drivers, to see what they're trying to say. But let's see. Although Albon said he hadn't spoken too much to the grid about the situation, he felt they were all concerned. I know, you know as well, that between Formula One and the FIA, it's trying to get everything together in the same form of communication, he said. At the minute, there is a little bit of confusion. That's all I'm going to say about that. Alfa Romeo driver Valtteri Bottas has also made his feelings known about the new rules, as he said to the media, I think everyone should be allowed to say what they want and do more things that they want or have passion for. People in this world should be free to say what they want. In a way, I don't see the need for that kind of thing to be in the rules. Another concern the drivers have is experiencing burnout due to the 2023 season schedule. It's going to be another jam-packed year of racing, with the biggest calendar ever from March to November, with 23 races happening. F1 fans must be ecstatic, but drivers, on the other hand, are feeling the heat. Word has it that drivers are teaming up to voice their worries to the higher-ups. The crazy 2023 schedule will definitely be a challenge, with team members potentially racking up around 80,000 miles of travel if they hit every race. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has already confessed he won't be at every race this season. The head of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, Alex Wirtz, is on a mission to make sure everyone, racing week after week, is safe and taken care of. Speaking about the 23 race season, he told Planet F1, Of course, we have to ensure that the acting individuals are not burned out by too many races over the years, something the drivers are considering as a concern, as well as the concern that the audience accept more races. But I see no danger to the sport if the business interest sets the direction for long-term sustainable models, which is what I see Liberty Media doing with the right balance. Certainly we know what sells F1 is the tracks, and the product is the drivers themselves. So there is a factor to ensure they are razor sharp and remain excited to do many races at every race and every interview, which is a fact we have and will debate ongoingly with F1 stakeholders. Speaking of Toto, the Mercedes team boss also had an issue with the governing body, as the FIA has announced that they are open to discussing with potential new F1 teams joining the grid. Specifically, the FIA has made room for 2 more teams to join the grid, potentially taking the number of participating teams from 10 to 12. However, any new applicants must gain approval from all parties involved, including the current teams in Formula One. For the avoidance of doubt, no new applicant has an automatic right of entry to the championship, and the maximum number of teams competing in the championship, up to and including the 2025 season, is capped at 12, the FIA stated. Existing F1 teams will be given priority over new applicants. In the event that no applicant is considered suitable by the FIA and/or by the F1 commercial rights holder, no new F1 teams will be selected. Although the FIA has given assurances, Wolff remains worried due to the potential financial harm that a new team's entry could inflict on existing teams who have already invested heavily over the years. I mean, each of the organizations that's sitting here on the podium has probably put more than $1 billion into the Formula One projects over the years, so it needs to be accretive, Wolff said. If a team comes in, how can you demonstrate that you're bringing in more money than it's actually costing? Because the 11th team means a 10% dilution for everyone else. Sky Sports F1 pundit Martin Brundle, on the other hand, would disagree with what Toto had to say about the possibility of adding more teams to the grid. Wolff is questioning how new teams entering the grid can prove that they will bring in more revenue than their cost, as the addition of an 11th team would result in a 10% decrease in revenue for all existing teams. He said, "Getting more teams in is a logistical thing as well as a financial aspect. You know, will they fit in the pit lane, the paddock, on the grid? How many cars do we need? I think 24 cars will be great, personally. We've got 29 races this season, 23 Grand Prix, and 6 sprint races with 20 cars on the grid. I don't think it's quite enough of a show, personally, and opportunity. But if you look at the Ford thing, it's a halfway house, really. It's an interesting one. Red Bull had Infinity on for a while, then it had Aston Martin on the side of it for a while before Aston got their own team, so this is a branding thing." So, do you think this is the start of a feisty back and forth between the FIA and F1? Let us know in the comments section below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.